and regularly attended...
Hello, brothers and sisters of light and dark. Welcome to my page. My page is about common sense. I tried to keep it down under the nitty-gritty under 10 minutes. And if it goes over 10 minutes, there's something very, very, very important. And not important to liberals, libertards, people believe in God, people like to smoke, people like to drink, people like ayahuasca, people like DMT. Listeners' discretion is advised. Listeners' discretion is advised. That means if you are sensitive, a stick in the mud, you fit in with most people, you shouldn't watch my videos. I'm only interested in the elite, people who like to use common sense. All right? Check out my credentials bio down below. Let's begin with this video now here. This video is going to be about how to prevent an incelism. Okay, a word I made up. Incels are basically involuntary virgin boys. Okay, most of the time they're boys who commit heinous acts or more dangerous acts. I'm going to try to tell you how to prevent that if you can pay attention, because my major when I was in college was psychology. Though I never graduated from there. I had to study things on my own and do everything by anecdotal wise, because I dealt with a lot of more women in my past than the guys. But let me tell you something about white children, white people in general. When I hang with them, I learn a whole lot of shit that I want to tell you here so you can prevent this shit from happening. But listen to this video for just a little bit. And anyone who doubts me or something like that because I talk slightly incoherent sometimes, just get the fuck out of here, okay? I don't need your kind around here. I make my money another way. But anyway, let's begin with the video, please.
Church services in his hometown. Everything seemed to be going great for a while.
Okay.
But then Barry and Lauren separated just 6 years after the triplets were born.
All right, let me tell you something. As I'm watching this video, it's called The Most Twisted Cases You Ever Heard. This is just one particular case. And also I heard about Columbine and Sandy Hook. Please, guys, pay attention to what I'm saying here. When you have parents, okay, and one of the parents are already corrupted, that's a form of genetics or hereditary. That's a gene that you can't avoid. Sometimes you can do whatever you can in your power and it will not help a person. So you may call that gene the impossible gene. You can't return that person back to the sender or the original self, or you can't help that person to become normal. There are countless genes that are not displayed in the public, which I was reading in the past. I know about the warrior gene. There's also a gay gene. Okay, yes, there is. And there are too many genes out there through genetics, eugenetics, study of genetics, to think about, okay, there's no genetic for it. Yeah, there is. So you guys got to be careful. So you see how parents break up? They're incompatible from the start, okay? Most people in general are incompatible. But let's continue on with this video. I want to get to a point here where they're going to show this a page with medical terminologies and stuff. And I want to explain to you how to prevent these things from harvesting themselves into boys, okay? Because girls are most likely different than boys, okay? But let's continue, okay?
While Barry moved out of the family home, he remained an active figure in his children's lives. However, there was something dark brewing under the surface of Breck's perfect exterior. Around his 14th birthday, Lauren started to notice some troubling changes in her eldest son. Namely, that he would isolate himself in his room and play computer games for hours on end.
Yeah, but please understand this. As this process goes on in his life, there is some limitations that you must put on children so they won't get into the zone. There's a bad zone that children go into when they get older, because I watched countless kids in the past because I used to be a babysitter. And I know where pedophilia comes from. I mean, it originates from single bad motherhood, okay? Not from the fathers, because the fathers are not there. We already know this. Most people are raised by usually a single mother, okay? We know that's a fact. And we also know that if they did have their father in their life, he's going to be a beta alpha. And what a beta alpha male is just a guy who's attractive that she chose to marry. Or it could be a beta male who basically don't have the credentials to psychologically deal with her, because she's the one who controls everything in the house. Women are more power hungry in the house, especially when they find a trick, okay, or someone they can take advantage of, because men don't know how to defend themselves in the court of law. That's why you hear 60 to 70% of women initiate divorce, because that's their ultimate, backup plan, just in case if they get tired or seasonal. But let's continue with the video. I want to show you something here in this video. Very peculiar and very interesting, okay? But let's begin.
On top of that, his moods were wildly unpredictable, and he began neglecting the things he once found very important, like going to church and participating in sessions for the Army Training Corps. As her once vibrant and outgoing son became...
Yeah, you see the training corps thing. If it wasn't his decision, that's already a problem anyway from the start. You shouldn't force children to do anything that you elect to do. You give them an option to do what they like to do. You never force children, because when I see the mothers raising their kids, they always show this stuff to their little girls. Girls are different type of sponges than boys. This is a fact. It's harder to raise girls than boys. Now, if you want to disagree with me, okay, check me out. Check me out down below. And I can prove it to you that girls are harder because, people just don't believe that fact, okay? But other than that, let's begin. Let's continue on with this video, okay, until this thing pops up. And then I'm going to stop the video there because I don't want to watch the whole thing through. You already know what's going to happen, okay? All right.
Increasingly irritable and disobedient, Lauren knew she had to figure out what was going on. These are all classic symptoms of depression. He also had another key symptom of depression, irritability, which sometimes presents instead of the more commonly known symptoms of depressed mood or sadness. Irritability is found in the diagnostic criteria.
All right, here we go. Now, right here, you may not be able to see it, but I'm going to tell you about all these things you should avoid doing so they won't run into none of these things. Because I told you before, I majored in psychology and computer engineer. I love the stuff. I try to get into the psyche of the mind. But then what I found out when I was younger is that what's more interesting than human behavior is genetics. Somebody told me this. A scientist told me this. Is if you want to study human behavior, just study genetics, man. Let's get it over with. And it's much more easier to understand because then you can predict what they are going to do. Okay, right? But let's get on with the topic right here. It says 5 or more symptoms. Okay, so you see the table, the DSM, 5 criteria for major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorders. Please understand, these things change. They are constantly changing, peoples. This is just hypotheticals, okay? I keep telling people about the medical department when they make up these terminologies, because every case is different in some sort of way. So what they're going to do, keep branching it off to multitudes of different ways. There's always a human marginal error, okay? Scientific bias, okay? So we're not going to take this as a complete 100% fact, okay? All right? So as you can see, this is from the DSM, which constantly changes over time, just like mathematics and vocabulary. Major depressive disorder, okay, in children and adolescents, mood can be irritable, okay? 5 or more or 9 symptoms, including at least one of the depressive mood and a loss of interest or pleasure in the same week period. Each of these symptoms represent a change from previous functioning. Where the dot is at, where the markers are at, it says depressed mood, subjective or observed, okay? Well, basically, that's the first thing how to avoid that is that as soon as you see it, you're supposed to help them and ask them what can be the solution. When you have children and you see and you sense it that they're kind of sad, then they need something in their life that you can give them rather than just a video game and TV, okay, or some sort of media. You got to give them some sort of what you call pep, okay, a pep talk or some sort of excitement, because if you don't do that and you see them as the best, when I see my daughter and she get my other daughter, my youngest daughter, okay, Teza, okay, she gets a little depressed. She sits there in the corner. This is a very crucial part to handle that problem because I see everything. I got eyes in the back of my motherfucking head, right? So I'll be like seeing her acting because I like to observe. And this is why I get a little depressed, because I can see all sorts of people with problems just by observing them, just by looking. And then I get empathetic and shit, and it affects me. But then I realized how to control that long ago. But if you see children acting like that, you must go to them as soon as possible when this happens, okay? Very, very important, okay, that if you see your child kind of sad or depressed or sitting in the corner just looking down on the ground, they need affection. You need to show them that affection. And most people don't recognize those things. They're so busy doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that's the first way of handling depressive mood disorder, okay? You want to call it subjective or observed, okay? Loss of interest or in pleasure. Basically, most girls get a loss of interest in a lot of different things. They're not interested in video games. They're not interested in a lot of boy activity or hobbies. And I learned this. I did a study on this, a research study on this, that girls are just more social than boys, okay? Especially if they're average looking, okay? Now, you got average looking boys. They can become like girls, but most of the time, these boys are doing something completely different than the girls. There was a study done, and I don't know what the name of it's called. They put all these boys and girls in a room, okay, and they put balloons outside, and they put all the little electronics in the. You know how many kids played with the electronics in the middle of the floor? The boys did, okay. So constantly, obviously the balloons kept the attraction of most of the girls and the clowns and anything going on outside. So the girls looked outside. So we already know that girls and boys are different, okay, overall, okay. So let's look at the next one. Change in weight and appetite. All these things should be easy to handle, but most parents don't have these qualifications psychologically to help children like I do, because I used to wonder about a lot of different things, and I used to ask questions about a lot of different things. But you should automatically know sugars, salts, breads, margarines causes depression. With the foods you eat can cause a lot of problems in your life. And this is why I tell grown-ass people, I say, what are you eating, man? What the hell are you eating? Are you eating pears? Are you eating raspberries? What are you eating? It can completely destroy your whole psychological sense of well-being. All right, so we already know that how to handle all three of those I just mentioned. Change of weight and appetites, because the parents that are given the foods, and you don't know what type of foods to give to your children. Let's go to the next one, okay? Insomnia, okay, and hypersomnia, okay? Now to sleep, okay, if you can give them milk or something to go to sleep, okay? You have to make sure you maintain by discipline to make sure what time they should go to bed. So my daughters, I let them run around whenever they want because they're homeschooled, and I'm happy with that, okay? Because I know what to do, because I've been around a lot of children in my past, right? Because I used to be a babysitter and a whole list of things. So check out my credentials down below. So I realized that if the children are running around, they're constantly watching TV or soap operas with the mama and whatever stuff that they're doing, they're going to become corrupted. You cannot allow them to get fat, because fatness will lead to depression. It's most of the time, it's not a healthy trait unless they're born with it. All right. But anyway, you have to put more fruits and vegetables in your life, okay? And you got to make sure they maintain the proper sleep balance. Okay, let me see. What's the next one, okay? Psychomotor, retardation, or agitation observed. Well, the psychomotor comes from, they're either born with it or they're not born with it, okay? Because I see that in some kids. They'll act frantic and they'll move around, and I'm like, okay, I need to see the father. You know, you gotta link that to the parents, because sometimes those degenerative diseases, okay, you want to call it abnormalities, will usually carry over onto the children, and there's nothing really you can do about it. Okay, let's go into the next one. Okay, let's see, loss of energy or fatigue. This goes in correlation to the insomnia and also the appetite in food. Okay, so their energy will go up if you feed them the right things. Worthlessness and guilt is because of the parents. There's something that you're putting on that parent, on that child, that you're not supposed to put on to, but you do it anyway, and you're not supposed to be forcing your perspectives on the child unless it's about their education or it's about them having fun, okay? You know, too much fun, okay, as a matter of fact, okay? Impaired concentration and decisiveness, that's genetics too. All these things are pretty much genetics. Okay, because 9 times out of 10, if you got an astute individual who's born and he has children and 2 people are astute, as a matter of fact, then that child will be astute and very vibrant as well, because that's just a form of genetics, not human behavior. Genetics, all right? You study genetics, because most of you don't study eugenetics or whatever, and that's a fact, okay? Let me see, thoughts of death and suicide. Now, that comes into play that when they're stressed too much. It's just common sense now. You can't be stressing your kids and then they want to commit suicide. Okay, now you got to watch some of them crazy, what do you call it, fetish type children, okay? Sometimes some kids get a kick out of stabbing things or killing things. You got to catch that real quick. You got to tell them that this is not a game, okay? You got to tell them at a young age that you can't do this during your older life. And you got to tell them to repeat themselves, because what happens is that if you don't tell them to repeat themselves and they're killing rats or they killed the cat, some kind of fetish, because there's people who have these certain types of fetishes, right? They'll eat ice and sand and stuff. And I was doing some reading. I said, why are these people doing it? Because when they're younger, they was never told that it was wrong. You have to make sure you're constantly around your kids. You cannot be sending your kids. See, the thing is that with a lot of people, okay, you are most likely going to send your kids to school. they can learn and adapt things from other children in a spiritual asset. Now, I know this may sound like pseudoscience, but trust me on this. You keep an open mind with science, you'll understand what I'm saying. A lot of scientists can't understand quarks and certain physics, okay, that go along in this reality. But they'll keep saying they don't understand the quark, okay? You know, scientists will always say that. They'll say some cool bullshit, and I say, what about the ghost? What about this? And I say, oh, no, there's pseudoscience, okay? But anyway, let's get on with the subject here. As you can see here, if they have thoughts of death or suicide, that's because the parents are doing something that's majorly stressful to them, and there is a weakness. There's a weak link in their fucking genetics. All right. Okay, let's continue on that here. Persistent, okay, depressive disorder in children and adolescents. Mood can be irritable during the duration. Must be 1 year or longer. Okay. Yeah. This shit can last for quite a while. When I end up babysitting for kids, the kids are already corrupt when I get there. And then I'm like, okay, why is your kids acting like this? It's either genetics or the parents don't have no idea what to do for that child, which is sad. Okay, because now these days nobody want to pay no money to do no babysitting services, but you'll send your child to your uncle or some shit. You don't know their background, and that, my friend, is not a good thing. You don't send your children to other family members. You can't trust nobody with children, and that is a guaranteed fuck up from most parents. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You don't know their background. I know they're your family members, but okay, let's see. All these things they listed down here are secondary things. I already just explained to you how to handle all of those things there. And me, since I consider myself an expert with children, lots of people don't listen to me. Oh, because that way I sound, or maybe because I don't articulate myself a certain way, or I don't use big words. I just use common sense. Okay, you got to give a certain amount of attention to your so-called child at a young age. And I'm good with kids because when I entered the house in the past with these women, okay, mostly white women because they had the money to pay for my services, okay, they tell me some despicable shit. Like these key words, they'll tell me some shit. I would love to give my daughter to you. I would love to give my son to you. I said, why would you say some cruel shit like that? The mothers tell me some shit like that. I've never encountered a father who said, I'm giving up your son. I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. So this is why I tell you that pedophilia and all that other shit come from single deadbeat mothers. By fact, from my experiences. I'm not talking about your research and what some people be like, oh, this is the debate. No, you got to do your shit anecdotally wise. I'm talking about from experience, from hundreds and hundreds of people and children. And I've been around. You have not. So shut the fuck up. All right. That's all I really wanted to say, guys. So you already know what's going to happen with this case here. And let's listen to it a little bit more, and then I'm going to end it there, because I gave you all the answers so your child would not turn into an incel. Mainly white little boys would turn into incels. But if you want to know about the black incelness, that's that gangster shit that be going on in the hood. And everybody's, being happy about it, like they sugarcoat it, like it's a great life, or it's a lifestyle or some shit like that. And when they listen to music in the hood, they kill each other. Black on black crime is the highest in the hood. Okay, so I do not recommend anybody. They glorify that rap game because they didn't have a father figure and their mother is not disciplined. So they glorify that rap game shit, and they think it's funny and they think it's entertainment, but it's not. It's not all in games. Okay. I listened to rap in the past, but I thought it was just completely entertainment. But then I realized that it does have a psychological effect upon children. All right. Just like that rock shit, that heavy metal, that also has an effect upon children in a sense. But of course, if you allow your child to play too many video games or listen to music too much, they can get that image, that message in their minds. But that's why you as a parent should watch the content of what comes into the house. Okay, while they're listening to it or in their room. There's no privacy in your house when you have your children. There's no privacy. Okay, maybe they go to the bathroom. That's the only privacy they get. But they don't have a room where they have the lock and key. No, they don't do that. Okay, you make sure you have cameras in your house if you need to, if you just that concerned and that worried. But let's listen to this video just a little bit more, because I'm not going to watch the whole 28 minutes of this video. You already know what's going to happen, okay?
Area of depression for kids and adolescents, but not for adults. Then Breck started talking about...
Yeah, let me tell you something about adults. A lot of adults these days are still children. They're still stuck in this dramatic situation of childlike minds. They don't understand. I'll give you a great example of what a child is. A child is anyone who's believing in religion itself, because when I was a kid, I was like, Santa Claus is not real. That's one strike. Easter Bunny's not real. That's two strike. And then I asked questions about Jesus, and then I realized Jesus is not real. Elijah Muhammad is not real. None of these individuals do exist to me because I never saw them. So anyone who's believing in your so-called religion is delusional, okay? And that is a form of childlike thinking. So the pathology is very clear. If you are part of that organizations or those cults, I call them, and you don't understand the history of it, you are still a child to me, okay? All right. But let's get on. Let's continue on. There's a lot of parents, I'd say that 70 to 80% of people out there who are still children. And this is why when they get together in relationships, they're incompatible. And usually 9 times out of 10, the female gets tired of the male because they have been trained, they have been taught. But let's continue.
An internet friend named Lewis. Lauren was familiar with the small number of friends involved in her son's gaming club, but had never heard of Lewis before. Call it mother's intuition, but Lauren just felt something was off about Lewis, even speculating that he might not be the young gamer he claimed to be online. Still, Breck's preoccupation with his new friend snowballed out of control, and before long, he was talking about him all the time, and becoming more withdrawn than ever. Lauren attempted to limit Breck's communication with Lewis, but he always found ways around her restrictions. So the uneasy mother felt she had no choice but to call the Surrey police and report her concerns. She explained to the responding operator that she thought her son was being groomed by an older predator, pretending to be a young boy. At the end of the call, the operator said that officers would check out Lewis, but unfortunately...
And please understand, you have to monitor everything that's going on in your house. It's your house, even phones. There's no, this is my privacy. There's no privacy in your house, dog. Okay, I know a lot of people would disagree with me. I said, dude, if you are my wife, there's no privacy. The only privacy you get is in the bathroom. Okay? And then on top of it, you got kids, and then they're hiding things. I say, at least just see your phone. They say no, then it's no, they got to go in the street, okay? Because that's common sense. Alphas don't play that. As I said before, most people don't know what alphas is. They're overprotective, and they're not insecure. They just want to make sure you're not doing something you're not supposed to be doing. And then there's some people who want to bypass the security measures to keep doing what they were trying to do. And it's a bad habit. There's something they're doing wrong. They don't bring it to the alpha father. They don't bring it to the proper people or the advisors to make sure that their life is going to be in the right. So they don't trip. Okay. They don't flip out or snap out. Okay. But there are people who like to do things behind your back and behind curtains. I don't do that, okay? But anyway, let's continue.
That never happened, and the inquiry was closed just an hour later. On February 16th, 2014, after a year of talking online, Breck finally planned a secret rendezvous with Lewis. It would be their first time meeting in person, and he was excited because Lewis had become his closest friend. Lewis had also promised Breck a bright future as the new owner of his multi-million-pound tech company. If only Breck knew the fatal mistake he was just about to make. The following day was the start of half-term, and because Breck was to be staying with his father Barry for the duration, he informed him that he'd be sleeping over at a friend's house on the night of the 16th. While Barry was happy to see his son out socializing instead of sitting in front of his computer, he had...
Man, listen, there's 2 types of socializing. The internet, okay, on the media, or in person. Which one you rather have your child do? Too much of. Which one you rather your child do? Now, I do not recommend public socializing, okay? I do not recommend that at all. And as I said before, as an alpha father, okay, you can't be sending your daughters anywhere without some sort of chaperone at all times. It doesn't matter if she's 18, 19, whatever. You gotta send a chaperone. Now, she got work. You don't need a chaperone. You got to keep the track of your daughter's whereabouts at all times. Even your wife, okay? She could track me all she wants, okay? Because people be saying to me all the time, say, yo, you can't be in there privately. Yes, you can. Who told you that? That's where you're wrong, man. She tracks me. I track her. We got to make sure that we're in the right places, because what if something happens? Okay? What if something happens? Then you can know, you can monitor on the phone where each other's at. Now, I do not condone socializing. I am not a social person. Disciplined people are not very social. We go together, and that's it. That's final. We go together. There's no, you go over there by yourself. You have a party over there by your school by yourself, and I don't see you. That's not going to happen, okay? That's what alpha fathers do. They're strict. They don't play that bullshit because they know certain things can happen behind their back. And it's not a form of insecurity. It's about safety, okay? Now, anyway, there's the internet that can be pretty tricky at times. I will never, I can monitor everything my daughter's doing, okay? And I can track everything she's doing. And she has to show me that shit so I can make sure that she's going to the right direction. Now, I know some people may say, oh, that's controlling, because the people who say that are sneaky people, okay? The people who say, oh, I don't want my privacy sold to any other corporation or company, okay? And then, you know, you like attention. That doesn't make sense. That's an oxymoron. That's a conundrum. There's people who say, I don't want you sneaking. See, they're tracking you right now. Big Brother's tracking your content right now. If you use the internet at all, they can see you. They have to use cookies on your phone in order to track certain things. They do it without your permission sometimes. That's why sometimes you get strange email, okay? But anyway, I digress here. Please understand that socializing is bad. It's good to be introverted. It's good to be focused and to make sure everybody's happy. Now, if they want to move out, that's another subject. Okay. So you didn't think I was going to say that. You could let them move out. I said, hey, you know, okay, you can go ahead, you know, let them go. Let the bird fly out of the coop. And then see. And then they'll come running back to you. And then you say, I told you so many times and I cannot help you. Now, since you understand that alpha fathers don't play, and I know most of you have not had an alpha father, I learned how to be an alpha father because of trial and error, because of my traumatization, okay? And also I had to learn indirectly, innately. The voices came to me when I was a child, though. I was about to do some despicable thing, and then I realized that I'm not like everybody else, okay? Because I don't want to do what everybody else does. No religion for me, okay? No God for me or the devil. I don't believe in none of that stuff. My fear was lost through traumatization. But of course, to each his own. Everybody is raised differently. Let's continue.
No idea that Breck actually planned to take a taxi and stay overnight more than 30 miles away in Grays.
What the hell?
Barry waited for Breck to return home the next morning, but he never came. And after multiple calls and...
See, listen, that's why you see, that's a terrible father. Okay? That's a terrible father, man. I'm like, terrible parenting. Yeah, no. Unacceptable to alphas.
Texts went unanswered. Barry called Lauren and told her what was going on. Yet just as the pair was formulating a plan, they were struck with every parent's worst nightmare. Breck's gaming club friends had started receiving horrific text messages containing images of a bloody corpse, who they quickly realized was Breck. The photos spread like wildfire, and it didn't take long for word to reach Breck's family, with some people even reaching out to his 12-year-old triplet siblings to ask if the photos were real. A short time later, Essex police got an eerie call they would never forget.
You're telling me he is definitely dead?
Yes, I'm telling you he's definitely dead.
Right, okay, Lewis, I need you to just take me back through that again. So what happened last night?
Okay, he was in a mess. I tried again.
Right, just slow down again, Lewis. I need to take...
I have a penknife in my room, adjacent to my bed. I have a chest of drawers. I had a penknife on there, folded. He picked it up, opened it, and then lost control.
Penknife on the bedside table. Brett grabbed this.
Yes.
What, in order to harm himself?
No, in order to harm me. He opened it and then lost control. In self-defense, put my left arm up to block him from stabbing me effectively. We struggled. I got him to the ground. He got up. I got the knife. Can you not interrupt?
Yes, and please understand, even though he may not have been an incel or he's basically tried to defend himself, don't let it get out of control. Don't even allow it. You cannot allow it if you are a disciplinary. If you're a disciplinary, most people will agree with you. You're going to have hard times and problems in relationships all your life. If you're intellectual, you're going to have problems all your life. And this is why I try to tell people to be careful who the people that you pick in your life. Because if you're a disciplinary, okay, like most people are not, okay, you're going to have some problems later down the line. I said later down the line. It may seem more herky-jerky at the moment, but this is where I'm going to stop the video because you already know, obviously, they're going to say he's the bad guy and yada, yada, yada. He seems like a good kid, okay? But I don't really need to hear too much because I know for a fact that he ain't no goddamn murderer if he's calling the police. But you know how it's going to flip out. This is why you have to be overprotective because things happen, okay? And you don't want some teacher or some organization injecting your child with something that you don't know what's going on in their body. And then their whole DNA structure is changed. There's a lot of foods that can change your DNA as well. Like a lot of processed meats and and salts and sugars and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't care about that stuff, okay? You gotta watch the things that can alter your DNA. But to each his own. Other than that, I love you all, but I hate the many of you. I explained and talked about a lot of different things in this video. It's all unscripted, okay? So I've noticed the top of my head. And since a lot of people think I'm just out of my head because I'm schizo, that doesn't make your case very clear. Some mentally ill people are not really mentally ill, okay? All right? I hear my voices, but I got my shit under control. And then you may laugh at me and say, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't know me. You don't know me, okay? But that's why some people don't take me seriously. But I don't care, okay? Just don't fuck with me, okay? You're okay over there. I'm smart enough to come over there and get on your computer. Don't mess with a hacker, all right? Okay, don't mess with a crazy person, all right? We already talked about this. This is why I don't want people watching my videos, because some people think I'm cuckoo, and they don't know what the fuck I'm, because they don't come into my inbox. They don't try to know who I am. They just automatically get fucked up. And then they get themselves fucked up. Okay, because I'll go out of my way to protect myself. Because I hear people talking, you talk all your threats all you want. Until I get over there. And I'm not even going to try to fight you, okay? Alright? Other than that, I'm out of here. I love you all, but I hate the many of you. Because I'm not your average man. I'm not your Peter Pan.